From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Hannah Mordeau, and this is your News 8 Daily for Wednesday, August 6th. It's back to school for a lot of students in central Indiana. You may have encountered some fog this morning. It is mostly burned off, but get ready to heat up a bit. We will hit the upper 80s today. It's going to be mostly sunny skies. There could be a rain shower here or there, but you will notice that humidity is increasing. Breaking news this morning, Greenwood police are now treating the death of a pregnant mother and her 3-year-old son as a homicide case. Police found the bodies of Karen Clay and her 3-year-old Carter Clay Monday. Authorities said very little about the circumstances. The landlord shared enough to point toward violence, telling our team about broken glass and blood inside, but until this morning, police had not said anything. A release from the Greenwood police says the shift is a result of the autopsy findings. Police say they will release no further details to preserve the integrity of the investigation. New on daybreak, several people are wounded in overnight and early morning shootings in Indianapolis. Police say 2 of the 4 people injured were shot within blocks of each other on the west side. News 8's Raina Revel went to the IMPD headquarters downtown and tells us what police know so far.
None of the shootings have been fatal at this time, but police have been busy working since just after midnight this morning. Now, that's when officers were called to the first of several shooting scenes on the west side near 18th and Kessler. IMPD believes a man was targeted by a shooter. Now, police say the victim is stable after being taken to the Eskenazi Hospital. A short time later, another man who had been shot showed up at Methodist Hospital. Police believe someone dropped him off, and about 20 minutes later, officers found a pickup truck possibly connected to that shooting victim just a few blocks from the hospital.
They also located the vehicle that dropped him off, and the vehicle that dropped him off was found in the White Castle parking lot up there off of 16th Street, and it also has bullet holes in it.
And around 12:30 a.m., another man told officers he was sitting in his car at Maple Creek Apartments near Michigan and North Holt Road when someone walked up and started shooting. Now, he tried to drive off, but ended up crashing into an apartment building. He's also expected to recover. Police say that the shooting is unrelated to the others. IMPD says the most recent shooting happened just after 2:30 this morning near Washington Street and Belmont Avenue. A man told officers he was walking down the street when someone shot him, and police say he's stable for now, but gave them little information to go off of at the scene. Now, so far, no arrests have been made in any of these shootings. You are urged to call either IMPD or Crime Stoppers if you know anything on these shootings. Reporting in downtown, I'm Raina Revel for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
A man is in custody in Hamilton County after a search that locked down part of Westfield. Investigators say it started about 2 yesterday afternoon when officers tried to pull a car over at 196th and US 31. That led to a chase, a crash, and a man in the car firing shots at officers and running away. Authorities sent out an alert for people across the northern part of Westfield to stay inside with their doors and windows locked.
It's just an eerie feeling, thinking that somebody could be in your house. My dog was there, all of our belongings, but I was very thankful that the cops were thorough in their search.
That woman lives nearby the scene. Police say they captured the man about 2 hours after the traffic stop. They also say one officer suffered a hand injury during the gunfire. Authorities have not released the name of the suspect. In Indianapolis, IMPD has arrested the 4th and final suspect in a shooting that left an officer injured. Yesterday, police announced the arrest of 20-year-old Mandrell Ballard. He's facing a preliminary charge of resisting by fleeing in the July 29th shooting on the west side of Indianapolis. Police say Ballard is also accused of battery in a previous case. IMPD says the 19-year-old that shot the officer, Tyson Reach, is still in critical condition at a hospital. He was injured when the officer returned fire. The Department of Homeland Security is expanding detention space into Indiana. News 8 was first to report that the Speedway Slammer will be coming soon to the state. That's what Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem called it in a post on X yesterday, along with a picture of what looks like an Indy car. She says Immigration and Customs Enforcement will arrest people that are here illegally and use 1,000 beds at the Miami Correctional Facility in Miami County to detain immigrants. That's just north of Kokomo. As for the picture, it is not an Indy car. It does have an ICE logo on the side and the number 5. Last night, IndyCar issued a statement saying it was unaware of plans to incorporate our imagery as part of today's announcement. Consistent with our approach to public policy and political issues, we are communicating our preference that IP not be utilized moving forward in relation to this matter. The fight over redrawing congressional districts could be coming to Indiana. President Trump has been calling on leaders in Republican-leaning states to change the maps to help the GOP gain seats in the House. The call has led to a high-profile clash of lawmakers in Texas. IT-Mate's Cody Fisher looks at a visit from the vice president that could put Indiana in the mix.
Governor Braun said that redistricting the election map here in Indiana will be one of several topics that he talks about with Vice President J.D. Vance. Now, this is a big political story across the country as both Republican and Democrat supermajority legislatures talk about redistricting in their states in an attempt to gain seats in Washington during the midterm election. Now, Governor Braun did not say that Indiana would join that movement, but he said that he would talk about it with the vice president.
So I think when it comes to how we are set up, I think when Republicans redid it in 2010, post then, it was to address that. So here, it would have to be based upon the fact that maybe areas aren't being represented well with the current configuration as the only logic behind it. And it would beg the question in some of the places where it does look very peculiar. A lot of them are in blue states, some are in red states. Ours looks fairly reasonable.
This is a knife fight for democracy, and we have to get in there and we have to fight hard. And if that means trying to counterbalance these illegitimate moves on the parts of Republicans to try to redraw these maps in the middle of the decade, then we've got to try to counterbalance that. Because if we just sit back and let this happen, and we end up with an illegitimate Congress, really our democracy's hanging by a thread at that point, and maybe it's even over.
Right now, the Indiana legislature is not in session, so leaders here at the State House would either have to call a special session to pass a new map, or at the very beginning of the next legislative cycle, pass a bill very quickly for a new redistrict election map to be in effect for the midterm election. Reporting in the State House for IT Man, I'm Cody Fisher for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
President Trump says FBI agents could help bring Democratic lawmakers back to Texas and stop them from blocking that vote on new congressional maps, although it is not clear if the agency has the legal authority to do so. The Texas House once again failed to reach a quorum to move forward yesterday after the president and Texas state Democrats had this to say.
I think they've abandoned the state. Nobody's seen anything like it, even though they've done it twice before. And in a certain way, it almost looks like they've abandoned the state. It looks very bad.
Right now, there's folks saying that we walked out. And I think everyone behind me will say, we're standing up. And as Texans would say, we're standing tall.
Other states considering a redraw of congressional maps include California, New York, Missouri, Maryland, and Ohio. Let's go to Jane King now with your business headlines. She starts with Americans' collective credit card debt.
It's a big number. Americans owe $1.2 trillion on their credit cards. That's according to a new report from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. That is in line with last year's record high. Now, a separate report from Equifax found many consumers are continuing to spend despite higher prices and higher interest rates. Federal Reserve, TransUnion, and Census Bureau data show Indiana has among the lowest average credit card balances at $2,420. Well, Social Security will phase out paper checks nationwide starting September 30th. Less than 1% of recipients still get the paper checks, which cost 50 cents each compared to 15 cents for electronic transfers. Now, this should also reduce theft. The Social Security webpage has directions on how to enroll in direct deposit if you still haven't done that yet. And some international students are struggling to secure visas due to the Trump administration's efforts to curtail immigration that is threatening college budgets across the U.S. Now, Bloomberg reports the situation inflation is causing concern for colleges. Some are expecting lower enrollment and revenue losses. Others are providing contingency plans for international students who are unable to secure visas. And according to forecasts, first-time foreign student enrollment on U.S. campuses is projected to fall by about 30% this year. That could result in a decline of tuition revenue of about $2.5 billion. Now, among Indiana schools, Purdue has the most international students at 17%. And some think the U.S. is in a he session. That's a new term for the rising unemployment rate among young men. While the overall unemployment rate was still 4.2% in July, for young men 20 to 24, it was 8.3%, which is near recession levels. Men have dominated the labor market for decades and still earn more than women, but the job market hasn't been kind to men over the last few decades. Okay, stocks a little changed yesterday. Tech stocks lagged as investors digested the latest batch of earnings, and this morning we are looking at a higher start. Live from the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Jane King. Back to you.
The U.S. Coast Guard says the company that operated the Titan submersible is responsible for its deadly 2023 implosion and that the disaster could have been prevented. The Coast Guard made the new information public in a report yesterday. It says that the safety procedures at Ocean Gate were critically flawed and found glaring disparities between safety protocols and actual practices. 5 people were killed in the incident, including Ocean Gate CEO Stockton Rush. The Coast Guard says Rush could have faced criminal charges if he had survived. The NFL and ESPN confirmed they have tentatively agreed to a deal that would give the league a 10% ownership stake in the sports network. They say the deal would also give ESPN several lucrative league assets: the NFL Network, the league's fantasy football operation, and distribution rights for the popular Red Zone channel. It's the second big merger between a league and a broadcaster. The other directly affects our community. Fox Corporation is buying 1/3 of Penske Entertainment, making it a co-owner of Indianapolis Motor Speedway and IndyCar. The Colts have a day off today between Tuesday's joint practice with the Ravens and tomorrow's preseason game in Baltimore. News 8 sports director Anthony Calhoun is there. He talked to the team and has the coach's decision on quarterback for now.
Hello, everybody from Baltimore, as your Indianapolis Colts had a joint practice session on Tuesday here against the Baltimore Ravens. They were actually on the practice field about 2.5 hours. They get ready for their first preseason game coming up tomorrow night here in Baltimore. The big story on Tuesday during the Colts practice session with the Ravens is what happened afterwards. Head coach Shane Steichen, he gave an update on his quarterback situation. He says that Anthony Richardson will get the start in the team's first preseason game against the Ravens at the quarterback position. As far as Daniel Jones, he'll start next week when the team plays against the Packers in preseason game number 2 back there in Indianapolis. So some clarity here with that quarterback situation. Meanwhile, it was all smiles on Tuesday for head coach Shane Steichen and the football team. That's because they had a chance to go up against someone other than themselves, the Ravens here. And Ravens picked as one of the best teams in the NFL to possibly win the Super Bowl thanks to guys like Lamar Jackson. Of course, all practice sessions during camp regarding the Colts centers around the quarterbacks Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. Both guys had pretty solid days here in Baltimore on Tuesday. I tell you what, the one thing that really stood out to me was this Colts offense, their ability to really move the ball down the field against a very good Ravens defense. After practice on Tuesday, I had a chance to ask head coach Shane Steichen just how important this day was for his team against the Ravens.
I think it's great to go against a team that's had a lot of success like they've had over the last decade or whatever it's been, and the quarterback they have. It's great. So that competition, makes us better too. So to get this work out here with them today, I thought was just phenomenal.
It's nice to go against some other color jerseys, some different guys, different schemes. And like you said, a really good team over there. So against a chance to work some of our stuff. I think it was a great day. Both sides were competing back and forth, and that's what you want. You want to be able to create that edge going into the season.
Coming out here, you don't know every single person on the other team, and some people have never played against this team. So being able to go against new guys and people that, like I said, are really good, and people, this is a team that's gone deep in the playoffs every single year, almost to the Super Bowl multiple times. So being able to go against that will for sure get us ready for the season.
It's all coming up here from Baltimore, right here on Wish TV. On the road with the Colts, Anthony Calhoun, Wish TV and WishTV.com.
That's As Soon As I Get Home by Babyface. The Indianapolis native is performing on the free stage tonight at the Indiana State Fair. It starts at 7:30 this evening. The fair now says children and teenagers must be with someone 25 or older during nighttime hours at the fair. The fair has updated its policy on unaccompanied minors. It says anyone younger than 18 must be with a parent, legal guardian, or chaperone who is at least 25. Each adult can, at most, chaperone 4 young people, and they have to stay with them. The policy is in effect after 6 Tuesdays through Thursdays and after 4 Fridays through Sundays. This has been your News 8 Daily. From Wish TV, I'm Hannah Mordeau. Watch us on Wish TV and wishtv.com.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go, connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.